Hello and welcome to the People's Politics third interview leading up to the election this May. We are joined here by PPC for Bury St Edmunds, the UK Independence Party's Dr. John Howlett. Welcome, John.
Hello.
Okay, first of all, we want to know a bit about yourself. So,
Yep.
What got you into politics? What do you stand for?
Well, I got in because in the 1990s, the Conservative Party Prime Minister, John Major, kept going over to Europe and saying he wanted this, that and the other, and coming back without anything that he wanted. And I thought this was very odd that we had to go to another country to find out what we could do. And then in 1996, Sir James Goldsmith started the Referendum Party so that we could have a referendum on our membership of the European Union. And so I went to their national conference, the one and only at Brighton, and I became a member then.
Oh.
And it was there that I discovered that the problems with being members of the European Union. Because when we joined the Union, it was actually a common market. And we were told at the time, this is just a market, we buy and sell each other goods. There's nothing more to it than that. But with the Maastricht Treaty in 1992, it became evident that it was actually becoming a new country, the European Union, a United States of Europe in effect. And this had been done without our consent. In fact, we hadn't even been told about it. The facts of this were sort of concealed when we joined the common market. And it was only becoming apparent in 92 with the Maastricht Treaty that it was going to be a new country. And so that was the time I decided to get involved.
Okay, so say you were to, so that's what got you into politics, say you
Yes.
were to win the seat here at Bury St Edmunds, what would be your key values that you take to Parliament?
The key value, the self-governing for the UK. We're not a self-governing nation anymore. Loads and loads of regulations and laws and so on are made in another country by people over whom we have no control. People we didn't vote into office and we can't dismiss.
Okay.
That's a very unsatisfactory situation to be in.
Okay, this question is from Twitter. It says, do you think the European election success UKIP had will be reflected in May?
Not entirely.
Okay, you got 27.5% of the vote, so you
I
don't
think
think
we'll struggle to get that in this election, because usually there's a separation and people sort of tend to go to the left or the right. But in the European elections, people tend to vote as they feel in their heart rather than trying to make
you don't think it was a protest vote at the European election? You think it was people actually voting for UKIP?
Yeah, they were voting for UKIP. Yeah, I suppose there's an element of protest in it, but there's a lot to protest about, isn't there? Really?
Okay. How many seats do you think UKIP can realistically get overall in the country?
I would guess about 5.
Okay, so you're going for it.
I'm going for 5 at the moment,
okay,
but I'm hoping for about 100.
Are you confident of winning Bury St Edmunds, this Tory stronghold?
Not confident, but I think we've got a reasonably good chance this time. In the European elections, in fact, UKIP got more votes than the Tories or any other party in the European elections last year. But as to whether that will translate into votes in the Westminster election, I don't know. But we do have a bit of an advantage in that the Conservative MP stood down. Well, he was deselected, and so he doesn't have the incumbency advantage. Okay. And also, the Conservative candidate is outside the area from a long way away, so people usually like to have someone.
Okay. So more confident than usual.
More confident than usual, and also the last 2 times I've doubled the vote each time, so I'm hoping.
So hope for that pattern to continue.
Also, I think it's going to be more of a 4-horse race this time, because in previous elections there's been about 25,000 votes spread on the sort of left of centre, like shared between the Lib Dems and the Labour Party and the Green. Unequally shared, but it's about 25,000. But I think the Greens are going to come up a bit and take votes from the Lib Dems and the Labour. So if we get, say, about 8,000 each with the other parties, and then it could give me the opportunity to go beyond them.
Okay.
And come at least second, if not first, you see.
Okay.
I think the left of centre vote is going to be split 3 ways now.
Okay. Yes. Right, this one is about inequality. Obviously, we heard the statistic from Oxfam about huge world inequalities. So what I want to know is, what is your view on the current gap between the richest and poorest in modern Britain? And if you think it's too great, what do you propose to do about it?
Well, it is too much, really. But what you can do about it is very difficult. I mean, you can up taxes, but if you increase taxes, these people will leave the country and give you nothing. So it's I don't have a plan for that at the moment.
Do you not have a plan for dealing? I mean, inequality is there's a lot of evidence that it causes more health problems in a country. More unequal countries are more likely to have more violence, more crime. So do you not have something that?
No, what we want
are they
to do
not
is
looking
raise the
towards
living standards of everybody, and not to try and reduce the living standards of some people.
So how would you raise the living standards then for all people?
Well, the obvious one is reduce mass immigration, because it's mass immigration from the rest of the European Union which is driving down wages, because there's an enormous pool of labour out there, and the Eurozone is in big trouble. There's lots of unemployment. So if we improve the employment prospects in this country, it will just suck people in. So the people in this country won't get any net benefit from an improvement in the economy while we've got open borders.
So you say, I mean, we're coming on to immigration later specifically, but are you saying then immigration is causing inequality in this country?
Not causing it, but it won't allow the people at the bottom end to improve their situation, because an improvement in the economy will suck labour in from the rest of Europe, and the British people unemployed will stay unemployed, or their wages will be lowered to the lowest in Europe. Would be brought down to Romanian levels.
Okay. You talked about taxes there too, like whether they're good or not. So what I want to know from you is, are you in favour of more progressive taxes or regressive taxes?
I mean, we are really after simplifying the tax system, because it's incredibly complicated. I don't fill in my tax form now. And in fact, Gordon Brown didn't fill in his tax return. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
He couldn't do it. He got an accountant to do it for him. Not only that, he charged the taxpayer for it because it's part of his election.
Okay, so the question. So progressive taxes or regressive taxes? I want to know what UKIP are for.
We want to raise the personal allowance to 13,500.
Okay.
So anyone on minimum wage wouldn't have to pay tax. But then the next stage would be 20%, 35% of 40, and that would be it.
Okay, so 40% would be the highest rate of tax.
Top,
okay, so would that require then more VAT, etc., or
no?
No. So not more regressive taxes, just lower.
No.
Okay. Okay. So obviously UKIP a lot about European Union. So what is, in your opinion, the single biggest advantage of leaving the EU?
Well, it's the ability to govern ourselves, to make our own laws, and to run the economy as we see fit.
Okay. Do you see any problems with leaving the EU personally? Do you see it as being, or do you see it will be a smooth transaction to greater prosperity?
It'll take a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't happen overnight. I mean, the legislation could be sort of brought in overnight, but actually working out the decoupling from Europe would take a few years. Yeah.
Okay. In your eyes, has the EU done anything beneficial for this country then?
Let me think. There might be a long gap here while I start.
Can you
think of anything?
Well, I mean they've done quite a bit on. They've helped cap bankers' bonuses. Obviously, George Osborne tried to counteract that, but they've led to try doing that. Clearer food packaging. They help with paid holiday leave, maternity rights, parental leave, capping working time, data protection, and equal pay. I mean, these are good things that they've helped lead the way, bring up countries to a certain standard.
Well, they can do, but they do actually impose costs on businesses as well.
Yes, there's regulation, but what I want to know is, I mean, these are good things. Do you not see these are good things that the EU has done? I mean, the UK wasn't going to do that by itself if it was self-governing. This has been
why would the UK do it itself?
Why wouldn't the UK do it? Well, it hadn't, and it
hadn't,
the EU.
No.
Yeah, the EU led the way. So
they did lead the way. Yeah.
So do you see that as a beneficial stuff that it's done, or do you not see it?
Okay, I might concede a point there.
Okay, there we go. What in your opinion, is the major differences between the European Human Rights Act, which I know UKIP are quite against, and a proposed UK Bill of Rights that you'd have? So what would be the major differences between them?
Well, the major difference is really that we'd go back to the Magna Carta, whereby, I mean, on the continent you don't have the same rights as we have under Magna Carta. We have better rights. We have the right to trial by jury, which you don't have on the continent. And there are other various things like you can be tried time and time again for the same offence, which you can't be in this country. If you're found innocent on a charge, you can't be tried again on that charge, but you can on the continent. So it's quite a dangerous system they've got on the continent.
Okay, so is that your main problem with the European like the Court of Rights? Is that it?
Well, the main problem with the European Court of Human Rights is that they've gone way beyond their remit. They've invented laws, basically.
Okay, so you think so a UK Bill of Rights UKIP would propose would be a more simplified law system?
And it would be determined by the British people, and not by people somewhere far away over whom we have no control.
Okay. The EU also, another thing the EU has done, introduced anti-discrimination laws. Okay, so do you agree then with Farage that employers should be able to choose on the basis of nationality, so get rid of these laws?
On the basis of nationality, I would agree they should be able to, if they want to.
So you agree with Farage that they should be scrapped?
You could agree with Farage.
Yeah, okay, so you agree. Okay, so then, I mean, how would that create a better balanced society if we allow, say, signs like no dogs, no Irish, no Polish kind of thing back in the old days?
Right.
I mean,
we're talking about employment, not...
They had him. I mean, back in London in the 1970s.
That was different.
Yeah, but it's the same thing. You would allow
it's that
sign.
Thing.
Yeah, because no Irish, no Polish, no black dogs.
That's
the same. Yeah, because you're saying you can choose on the basis of nationality.
That was to do with accommodation, wasn't it?
Yeah, it had accommodation, but it was also employers were able to. You would allow that sign though to be legal, would not?
No.
If you
we'd
can
allow
choose on nationality,
to choose whoever they want to work for them.
So you would just hide away that fact that
it's up to the employer to decide who he wants to employ.
Okay.
Doesn't that seem fair enough?
Well, no. I mean, shouldn't the? I know, obviously, you from a UKIP perspective
how would
of how immigration
force you to employ someone you don't want to employ.
No, it's not. Anti-discrimination laws is not about forcing someone to employ. It's not about the quotas. It's about you're not allowed to choose the nationality you choose on the basis of.
This isn't a big deal really, because a few years ago Gordon Brown said British jobs for British people. How does that differ?
Well, it's not putting it in law. It's like you can encourage it all you want, kind of thing, and make it.
It's the same thing. We want lots of jobs are getting created these days.
Yeah.
But they're sucking in people from other places in Europe where they have very low wages and are prepared to put up with low wages because they've got no alternative. In the Eurozone, there's very high unemployment, and it's not our job to sort out the Eurozone problems. Our job is to make sure that the people living in this country can get some work. And there's nearly there's over 1.8 million unemployed in this country at the moment, and we ought to be looking after them.
Okay, well, so do you think that then, I mean, obviously Farage said it should be legal to be able to discriminate. I mean, he wants to put it on nationality. So how would this create a better balanced society, a more fair, a more equal? I mean, it just seems that it's anti-discrimination laws avoids discrimination, so you're promoting discrimination.
It would prevent the country sucking in cheap foreign labour, because there'd be nothing for them to come to.
Okay. He also, I mean, I'm just trying to pick out his words. They seem very selective words. He's also put for British-born people, not just British. So does that mean that
British citizens?
It would be British citizens. I mean, yeah, but he's clearly stated it's British-born. He made that very clear. It's British-born. So is it UKIP not? So UKIP not? They wouldn't be it'd be British citizens.
If you're a British citizen,
you're a British citizen, whether you were foreign-born or not.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference.
Okay. Okay, this is another thing about just like discrimination, etc. I want to know, shouldn't the anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz earlier this year remind us of the dangers of marginalising groups within our society?
And who are we marginalising?
Well, no, it's a general question. I'm not blaming, I'm not accusing you of anything like that. I'm just saying, shouldn't it, our history, shouldn't it say that we shouldn't be marginalised, we should be more welcoming of people?
The Jews weren't marginalised, they were slaughtered.
Yes, but I'm saying as an event like that. Of course, I'm not accusing UKIP of creating another Holocaust or anything like that. I'm saying I'm just as a reminder of a piece of history.
The situation completely different. The Nazis decided to pick on a group and kill them.
Obviously killing is no. I'm saying I think a lot of ethnic minorities in our country will feel marginalised from employment, from
not
society.
If they're British citizens.
So you think if they're not British citizens but they're in this country, they should be
if they're
able
British
to be marginalised?
Citizens, doesn't matter what race they are.
If they're not British citizens but they're in this country, they should be able to be marginalised. Is that?
They're not marginalised. They just don't have a preference for jobs.
Okay.
I'll just give you an example, because in fact it's British citizens that are getting excluded and marginalised at the moment. We have a factory near us where, in order to get a job there, you've got to be able to speak Polish. Do you think that marginalises the the native population.
Okay, yeah, it does. I didn't know about that. Okay.
So it works both ways, really.
Okay. Right. Farage also talked about this after the Charlie Hebdo attacks.
Yeah.
He talked about the West's gross policy of multiculturalism. So, I mean, do you agree that multiculturalism isn't the way Britain should be heading?
Yes.
So you don't agree with multiculturalism?
I don't agree with multiculturalism.
Okay.
I believe in one culture.
This is something I want to know. So, are you talking about an interculturalism? So, obviously, we're referred to, say, as a salad bowl, where everyone has their identities, and you try and act, or more of an America terms of everyone becomes mixes their cultures together, kind of thing. Are you talking about that, or are you talking just about a British culture? What do you want to see Britain as? Just just British culture? Or do you like the idea of walking down, say, London, and you've got loads of different cultures around, loads of different foods, different religions? Do you like that about our world, or do you not?
That. One of my favourite roads is Brick Lane, because it's like going on holiday in Turkey.
Yeah, okay.
But, yeah.
So are you for interculturalism then? Or are you more...
When you say culture, we've got to have one law for everybody, basically.
Yeah, I agree. Law. So, obviously, you've got British law, but cultures. I mean, the idea of different ways of doing things.
People say some sort of legal systems are a cultural aspect, like Sharia law. That's a part of culture, but it's not one that we would agree with.
Okay, so what is your problem then with multiculturalism specifically? Is there any? Do you just see it as not working in Britain, or is there any specific things of why it hasn't worked?
Well, it's kind of been dividing up society. It's been divisive, basically. If people want to come here and live, why don't they want to join with us?
Okay, so you would see it as an intercultural, trying to everyone to become British values, really.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, so what I want to know then, British values, so the one culture society. What to you are British values?
I think the chief one is tolerance and the belief in the rule of law.
So would you say these aren't, say, like German values or human values?
Well, they have different ways of expressing them, aren't they?
Okay, so how would British... I just want to know, because, I mean, it's talked about a lot. We want you want British values, Conservatives want British values, kind of thing, but Gove even wants British values taught in schools, but no one's really said what are British values that aren't basic human values. So how are they expressed? How would you see them as being expressed in Britain?
The equal opportunities for everybody to take part in society, to get jobs if they're a British citizen. There shouldn't be any obstacles in the way. Okay,
so but I mean, what's the differences between in say use Germany again for example? Surely Germany have those values that are the same thing except just for Germans.
Yeah.
Is that the basic difference?
So
it's just for British.
If that's German values, we'll adopt German values.
Okay, so you're saying it's just they're the same values as human values, but they're just geared towards British people.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. But obviously here at the People's Politics we're a lot about getting people engaged of all ages, but a lot of young people are, or young people in general, are kind of accused of being apathetic. So what I want to know from you is what policies would UKIP introduce to get more young people involved in politics?
Well, the point of politics is to govern the country. It's not to sort of draw people in. I mean, they're either interested in the way the country is run, or they're not.
So you don't think we should be doing anything to encourage young people to be getting involved in politics? I mean, we thought about it's governing the country. It's a big thing. So the fact that a whole generation isn't interested, it seems they're not interested. Maybe they are, and they're just not. They just look at politics and see it as a Punch and Judy show.
You're saying you ought to entice people in some way.
Well, yeah. How do you show them and tell them that it is important? I mean, do UKIP have any policies that would try and encourage young people to take up politics as a thing, or do you think it should just be this is it? You either like it or not? You think you should? Okay.
Yeah,
I mean,
they should take it. If we had more TV debates, I think that would help.
Do you think more so show thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
I mean, I've just got a statistic here. 33% of young people haven't even registered to vote for this year. So I mean, that's a third of a whole generation that are just not going to partake in a huge in our
that
democracy.
Will change as they grow older. They'll suddenly decide they need to do something about it.
So you think we just?
I think their interests are divergent at the moment. You know, they're more interested in other things at the moment.
But shouldn't we do anything to encourage? I mean, because young people offer a whole different insight to our world kind of thing. So they're obviously when you're older, you look at things from a different angle. But not utilising that kind of angle of life. Surely that's. Do you could not have anything that would, or have any plans? I mean, I don't know, lessons in school, something to encourage them to teach them more about politics, anything like that, or is it kind of really this is it?
I mean, we do have a young UKIP group, who are obviously going around universities and so on, trying to interest people. I don't know if that counts as getting people interested in the politics.
Right. I just want to, I know this something again. This from Twitter. It says, obviously, Counter Upper, the school next door, they invited you to their politics society, where it'd be a Q&A with politicians. So they want to know why you didn't attend, with all other opponents already attending. Yeah, you didn't go.
I don't think
for
I was
Q&A.
invited.
No, well,
Which one are you talking about?
County Upper, the school next door, they had a politics society. They invited you along to be a Q&A.
I've been invited to some. I wasn't aware I'd missed one. It wasn't intentional anyway.
Okay, so if I can give you afterwards the email, just you'll be able to attend that one.
Sure.
Okay, so I was just saying,
it could be an email I missed.
Oh, okay, cause stuff like that kind of if their candidates aren't attending, then it kind of shows. I'm just saying it's stuff like that kind of makes young people go, oh, if the party candidates don't want to attend and speak to us, then
I certainly do want to attend. Yeah.
Okay, you do. Yeah. Okay, so that's just my question.
I do have another school thing to go to. I don't know. If
okay, well we'll try and arrange something so you can go to. Yeah, I'll do. Yeah. Okay. It's a religious-based question. So, what are your views on maintaining religious aspects in our society? So, I know different areas. How religious are you? Do you see it as a core British value, being religious things? Or I just want to know from you your ideas and your thoughts.
That's a difficult one as well. I'm actually a churchgoer, but I belong to Church of England.
Okay.
I go to Ely Cathedral, and it's very much a personal matter, really. So what? Sorry.
So so you see it as a personal. So do you not see then, or do you like the idea of multiple religions in our society then? Or do you think?
No, I don't really know.
You don't like the idea of like.
Well, I mean they exist.
Yeah.
But I'd rather the other ones became Christians.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Then just a few other religious points. On same-sex marriage, obviously that's put into law. Do you see that as a good thing, or do you see that as
I don't see that as a good thing. No.
You don't see that as a good thing. Can I ask you why?
Why? Because it's not marriage.
Do you see two people love each other? That is marriage kind of thing to?
No, I don't. It's changing the definition. But I don't mind people getting into what are these other
civil
things?
partnerships.
Civil partnerships. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Obviously, as you might agree with it maybe in church. Do you think then it should at least then just be maybe it can be the priest's decision, or do you just see it as morally wrong kind of thing for same-sex marriage all over, or do you not see any way that it could, let's say, that same-sex marriage should be just in a building rather than in a religious place? Do you not see that as a possibility, or do you see it as just it shouldn't have been made into law?
We're not in favour of same-sex marriage. We're okay with civil partnerships.
Is that UKIP in general? Just?
Yeah.
Okay. What about faith schools? Do you see they should still be getting funding from the government?
Yeah.
Okay. Abortion. I want to know about abortion. So, what is your view on it? Do you think is the woman's choice, or do you see it's always wrong?
I'm of the opinion that it's not a good idea to kill people, basically.
Not even if it's going to cause harm, or whether it was the result of rape or anything like that. You see it as always.
There's always going to be hard cases, but in general, the way it's carried out at the moment, I'm not in favour of it.
Is that as in the 24-week limit? So you think it shouldn't be? Should just be a no, or do you think it should be less?
It should be a no, but there are always hard cases.
Okay, so it should be no. The law should be no, apart from serious
hard
cases.
Yeah.
Okay, and then creationism. Do you agree that it should be towards science, or do you think it's evolution is the science of evolution is just that is fact, so that should be taught in schools, and creationism should just be left out, or do you this in state schools? Obviously, faith schools may be different. What are your views on that?
I'm in favour of teaching both
equally, or do you see it as evolution is kind of now that's kind of fact, that's creationism being
evolution is the currently believed theory, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. So you think that should be taught first?
Yeah.
First and foremost, and creationism
as a theory.
Okay.
And creationism as another theory. Yeah.
Is that in all schools you would see that as, or only faith school, or on their choice, or would you
leave
see
it up to the schools to make their own choices about that? Really.
Okay. Okay, this is on climate change. So, what would you say to those who believe that human influences are the cause of negative changes to our climate?
I would say, basically, that the climate goes its own way. It's a natural phenomenon.
So you don't see human
impact is very, very small.
It has. I mean, obviously, all know that they've had warm ages and cold ages before,
Yeah.
but this has been it's been a more rapid warm up. Yes, I believe it has.
It hasn't. I spend my time digging holes in the ground in East Anglia, and all the time, like around here, you'll dig a hole in the ground, you find brown clay with little chalky lumps in, and that's been left by a glacier. These are glacial deposits. This is stuff that was left by glaciers that were about 100 feet thick, where we are now, So global warming is quite a natural phenomenon. It's been going on all the time.
So, I mean...
It's a natural...
I know, okay, so whether it's natural or not, do you not say... I mean, it's still... there's no proof either side that it's definite. It's definitely not our cause. It's definitely not our cause. I think we can agree on that. It's not set in stone. No one...
We definitely know that the climate will change by itself, whether we're here or not.
And we know that I think you have to agree that human influences do create more greenhouse gases, etc. So industrialisation, that was bound to happen.
Yeah.
So that does say. So isn't it an enormous gamble to just say no, we're not going to do anything about it? I mean, surely becoming more green, more sustainable, isn't that just good in its own right?
Well, let me put it to you this way. At the moment, carbon dioxide levels are 400 parts per million, and that's quite small historically. And it's going upwards slowly. If they were going downwards, I would be worried, because at 200 parts per million, plants would stop growing, and at 150 parts per million, all plant life would die out, and so would we. So, in a way, it's going in the right direction if it's got to go anywhere.
Okay, so you're fully behind UKIP's plan to abolish the Department for Energy and Climate Change?
Yes, absolutely.
So you just see it as a waste of money, not...
It's a waste of money. In fact, it's damaging the economy, because it means we're paying extra for our energy.
Do you agree with that we should scrap green subsidies despite?
Yes.
Okay, and we shouldn't continue with fracking, etc. You're for?
We should continue with fracking, yeah.
Fracking's
been going on for decades anyway, but not on land. It's been going on under the North Sea.
You agree? Because obviously there's a lot of... The whole world's got to develop, don't you think? So, I mean, do you just see it as that is... the whole world's got to develop, so obviously... and a lot of fossil fuels have to be kept in the ground, so do you not...
Why do they have to be kept in the ground?
Because so you don't agree that then if they work, then climate wouldn't rise? You would see it all as natural. It's nothing to do with humans.
I wouldn't say nothing to do, but it's primarily
natural.
due to natural causes, yeah.
Okay.
And this thing about natural resources running out, I don't know if you're aware of it, but in the 1960s, when I was at university, the Club of Rome came out with a report saying we'd run out of oil in the 1990s. By the time the 1990s came along, there were more reserves of oil than there were in the 1960s.
Okay. This is on immigration, so we said we'll come up to it. So, do you personally believe that immigration, are mainly to blame for the majority of Britain's problems?
No.
Do you see immigration as causing British problems?
It's causing some problems.
Okay, what kind of problems is it?
Well, let's put it this way. Last year there were 300,000 came in. How many houses were built in that time?
Do you then not see that as the government's, that that houses should have been built rather than immigration?
No, I don't. I think immigration should be controlled so that we get the right number of people in to fill the jobs that we can't fill ourselves. So if we have a shortage of nurses, then fine, bring some nurses in.
Okay, I mean...
But what's the point of importing people who've got nothing to do?
Okay, I mean... So you see it as a bit of government spending, but you think it should be controlled so you can plan ahead for housing. Okay.
You can't plan for anything if you don't know how many people are going to be living here.
Okay, what about, you talk about an Australian point system.
Yeah, that's right.
So that would be obviously bringing in skilled labour.
If it's required. If we can't supply it ourselves, yeah.
Okay, but does that not just leave the unskilled job market for the British then? Surely,
That's right, yeah.
The unskilled job.
Yeah.
So surely we should be. I mean, from a UK perspective, you want the British generations to be going for the skilled jobs, and you can bring in immigrants for the unskilled.
But you only bring in unskilled workers from abroad if you need them.
Yeah, but surely shouldn't it be the plan for progress? Kind of thing? You can bring in immigrants to do the unskilled work. So the strawberry picking, the cleaners,
well, why shouldn't British people do those jobs?
But you're saying, but I mean, you're saying that why shouldn't British people be doing all the skilled jobs? You're saying you can bring in immigrants for them if we need them, but what if we need them for unskilled jobs? You say that should just be for British.
We won't need them for unskilled jobs. We've got 1.8 million people unemployed at the moment.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be best? The aim shouldn't be for them to be trained up to be the skilled labourers of tomorrow.
Well, yeah, if you can, but they're not skilled at the moment.
Okay, so British people for unskilled jobs, and then if you need them, immigrants could be brought in for skilled labour.
British people for British jobs. But if you've got a shortage of skilled workers, you bring them in from outside.
Okay.
Isn't that clear?
Yeah.
Is
No.
that-
Okay.
that-
Yeah. I
you've
just
got
want to
it
make
now,
sure I
haven't
can get the thing. What levels do you want to see then, and why? What kind of?
As many as needed.
So there wouldn't be a set number that you're aiming for. It would just be whenever.
No.
What would that be like on a year-on-year basis? That they go, oh, we're going to plan. We need this many immigrants this year, and we'll.
Well, what it normally works out is various employers have a requirement. They find they can't fill the vacancies here, then they would apply for work permits for those people they do need.
Okay. Do you see us as full? Do you see Britain as full at the moment?
Well, it's full in the sense that there's not enough jobs for everybody. There's not enough housing for everybody. And in the south of England, the roads are chock-a-block and the trains are chock-a-block. So it depends which part of the country you're in to some extent. But in some senses, we are full. But we could make room for people if we had a bit more time to do it.
Okay, so it's more planning ahead.
It's the rate at which people move in. If the 2.5 million people that came in the last 10 years came in over 20 years, it would be more easy to accommodate, wouldn't it?
Okay. Also, another thing on foreign policy for UKIP is cutting international aid.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, in 2013, I've got here, UK spent £11.4 billion on aid. So where would UKIP like to see that figure?
Around about 3 billion, I think.
3 billion. Okay. Your reasons for this are?
Well, a lot of the money is going on. Well, a lot of money went to India and China, which have got nuclear power programs and sending people into space. Why on earth do we give them money?
Okay, so you see it as a problem that's been wasted.
Yeah.
Okay, obviously, what I want to hear.
It's used in an inappropriate manner, basically.
Okay, shouldn't the policy be that maybe instead of just saying we're going to cut it, surely it be making it more efficient? So making it that because obviously there's still huge amounts of poor people in India.
Yeah.
That shouldn't it be our duty as a former colony that we should help them out within aid and helping them?
I don't think so. When India became an independent country, Britain became independent of India.
Do you just think we should?
Yeah, we're independent of India, and India is independent of us.
So you don't think it's our job as fellow humans that we should help them?
No.
No.
There are more billionaires living in India than there are in Britain. Did you know that?
Okay.
Why shouldn't their billionaires help their own people out?
Okay, but so you see, it's cutting the. So what would the aid be then for the 3 billion? Where would it be spent?
For clean water and inoculations.
Okay, so just for basic needs. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen personally how this aid thing works. Yeah, and it's always the people at the top get the money.
Yeah, so a lot of corruption. So that's what I'm saying. Shouldn't it be?
I've seen it happen myself.
Yeah. So. Okay, so I'm just saying, shouldn't it be then the aim should not just be to cut it, but to make it more efficient? That's all.
Look, we can't be responsible for running other countries. They have to sort their own problems out.
Okay, so what would a vote for UKIP mean?
It would mean that we'd be able to start running our own country again eventually, once we got the referendum on leaving the European Union. We can't trust the other parties, well, certainly the Conservative Party, to give us a fair referendum. The Labour Party won't give a referendum, the Lib Dems won't, and the Conservatives say they will, but they're likely to give a skewed referendum, an unfair one. So UKIP have got to be in there making sure they play it fairly.
This has been The People's Politics, interviewing Dr. John Howlett, Bury St Edmunds, PPC for UKIP.